Hello and welcome to What's New with Veeam Backup for Google Cloud V4. Today's webinar is sponsored by Veeam and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you have. That Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. Browser refresh is going to fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we will provide further technical assistance. Second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you're going to find we're offering several resources, and I'd especially like to call your attention to 3 URLs from Veeam. There's one on 7 reasons for Google Cloud and Veeam Modern Data Protection. There's a Google Cloud Backup for Dummies bundle, and there's a Google Cloud Data Backup demo series. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar event, we'll be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. Official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Finally, one of the best benefits of this event is that opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenters. So to help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. So that's another Amazon gift card, this one for $50 for the best question. After the event is over, we'll look at all the questions that came in, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. So with that, let's get to today's fantastic content. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today. We have Sam Nichols, who's Director of Public Cloud Product Marketing at Veeam, and we have Andriy Zalesko, who's Technologist for Product Strategy at Veeam. So I want to welcome Sam and Andriy to the webcast. Sam, take it away.
Hey, thanks very much for that great introduction, Scott, and welcome to everyone joining. I can see in the Q&A panel lots of people from really all over the United States, Virginia, Charlotte, Louisiana, New York City, even someone from Wisconsin, which is where I'm at. I'm right outside of the Twin Cities. So hope you're staying warm. The weather's getting better here. So yeah, it's good. Summer's almost here. So really excited to talk to you guys today about what's new in the latest Veeam Backup for Google Cloud product. It is version 4. But before we do that, I realize that this product is new for a lot of you. So we're actually going to go through and just kind of give you a brief introduction to that, to the product. But before we even do that, I would like to walk through a little bit of a story to tee us up. And this story is from 2014, actually, and it's about ransomware, something that's very, very hot on the news right now. And it involves a company called Codespaces. It's not Codespaces in terms of GitHub. It was actually a precursor to that. Great place for people to share code and software development. But Codespaces was a company that was 100% hosted on the public cloud. And even for 2014, they were, I guess, I want to say ahead of their time. They realized and understood the shared responsibility model, which is something that's shared across all public cloud providers. The fact that, that provider will take responsibility for some components of the infrastructures and platforms and software, but it is still the responsibility of the user to look after their data. That data is theirs. It is their responsibility to protect and secure that. So everything that they had hosted on the public cloud, they decided to protect by means of a snapshot. And unfortunately, Codespaces eventually dealt with a security breach whereby this hacker said, hey, if you don't pay this ransom, we are going to delete all of your production instances. And Codespaces had faith in their snapshots, aka backup strategy, and I'm saying backup in air quotes, that hey, go ahead and delete it. We've got a backup. We're going to recover. But what Codespaces didn't realize is that I guess snapshots aren't really stored independently of the disk that they're designed to protect. So this hacker eventually went in and deleted all of the production instances, and along with that, with that went all of the snapshots as well. And Codespaces went from a viable business to out of business in the space of a day. Now, fast forward, what are we, 9, almost 10 years away ahead of that? The good news is that as people continue to adopt more and more public cloud, they are understanding that it is their responsibility to protect their data. But the majority of folks still rely on the built-in snapshots of that cloud storage, 61% in fact. And I'm not here to bash on snapshots, right? Snapshots are a great first line of defense, and they have some really, really good benefits to them. Firstly, low RPOs or recovery point objectives. We're able to take snapshots very, very frequently. So for mission critical applications and data, in the event of a data loss scenario, we can fall back to a much sooner point in time and lose as little amount of data as possible. And they're also very quick to recover from, offering very low RTOs, recovery time objectives. So in the event of some sort of outage or data loss scenario, we are able to resume business operations much, much more quickly, and the impact of that outage or data loss scenario is minimized. However, there are some drawbacks, and I kind of already spoke about the first one with the little story I shared. They are not independent of the data that they are attempting to protect. Again, they are, we'll deal with in the case of Google Cloud, a compute engine virtual machine, the persistent disk attached to that, that's where the snapshot is stored. So again, if production is ever compromised, because the snapshot isn't independent, it's very, very easy to delete that just as well. Next up is that they are very expensive to retain. Anyone that is in a regulated industry knows that we have to retain business data for years on end, sometimes indefinitely. So to do that as a snapshot on the most expensive disk available in the cloud, it starts to get very, very expensive very quickly. Next up is cumbersome file level recovery. So we don't always have to recover the entirety of a machine or file server or database. Sometimes we just want to recover or do a granular recovery of an individual file or folder. But doing so from a snapshot involves about 10 different manual steps, which ultimately increases the impact of that outage. And then finally, it's the fact that it's a point solution, right? It's built into that cloud provider's platform, and it works great with that cloud provider's platform. But when we look at the hybrid or multi-cloud, realities that we live in, if we have a point solution for Google Cloud in this instance, we have something for on-premises, we have something for AWS, something for Azure. All of a sudden, we're dealing with multiple different point products from multiple different vendors. There's no feature parity. They don't talk to one another. It gets very complex. It gets very expensive. And the average organization does, in fact, use 3.4 backup solutions. I don't know how there's a 0.4. It's kind of like the 2.4 children kind of piece. They are using multiple backup products to serve their heterogeneous environment, and they desire standardization. So that's a little bit about, hopefully a bit of education that if you are just relying on snapshots, realize that, again, there's some great positives, but there are some drawbacks that you absolutely need to consider. Here's a little look at that shared responsibility model that really just shows, irrespective of what as a service you are consuming, whether it's infrastructure, platform, or software, it is still your data and your responsibility to protect that and protect it properly. And that's really kind of what gave rise to not just Veeam Backup for Google Cloud, but our similar product for AWS and for Azure as well. It's the ability to, take 16 years of data protection prowess and leadership in the virtualization space and start to apply that to the cloud, so we can go beyond the limited snapshot and truly have a robust, reliable, and secure data protection strategy. And it's all built on 3 pillars first. So I mentioned that they are not independent of snapshots, are not independent of the original disk that they're designed to protect. That's why we deliver relentless security to go beyond that. And we'll double click into each of these in a bit. Next up is fast, reliable recovery, right? We back up for a reason. It's for the case that we face a recovery scenario where we need to restore data. And if you do, you need it to be fast, you need it to be reliable, and you also need it to be flexible. And next up is all around zero compromise. As we start to work in the cloud era, we start to empower cloud admins, architects, engineers, developers, application owners with the need to protect their data that they host in the cloud. But they aren't a backup admin. Their 8 to 5 job isn't a backup and recovery. So we need backup and recovery that is zero compromise, that is going to be there, that is automated. It just works so they can focus on what their tier 1 priorities are and be rest assured that backup is there. So let's start to double click into each and every one of these. So around the security piece, it's the notion of isolated backups, right? So we will absolutely rely on the native snapshot in order to protect Google Cloud instances, because again, they have some great positives, low RPOs, low RTOs. But then we also take an image-based backup of that snapshot, or in the case of a database, a staged copy, and start to store that in a completely isolated environment. And what I mean by that is traditionally a project in Google Cloud speak that is dedicated to just backup and recovery. Now, Google Cloud and their well-architected frameworks deem projects as security boundaries. So having a backup and recovery solution that lives in a dedicated backup account that pulls data from a production account or multiple production accounts and stores it there helps us isolate that data. So if a malicious actor were to get into our production accounts, the likelihood of them getting into that backup account is reduced. And we do that through secure access. It's all around least privilege identity and access management, or IAMs. You can choose to have a big wide open pipe between your backup project and production project or projects, but we would always advocate for least privilege IAM, and we can absolutely support that. So only the minimum viable permissions required to perform a task are granted to the Veeam Backup appliance, as well as the people with access to that account. And then finally is all around encryption, right? To help us ensure data integrity. And we can absolutely do that through AES 256-bit encryption, increasingly important in exfiltration attempts. So as these hackers look to break into production, they don't get their ransom because people have done the right thing when it comes to protecting their backups. Well, hey, we're just going to extort you and say that personally identifiable information, trade secrets, sensitive information stored in your backups, we're just going to leak that on the web. So encryption is absolutely critical in backup as well. Next up, around recovery, we do truly offer the ability to recover anywhere, and we'll show that a little bit later on. But yes, you can recover your Google Cloud VMs or SQL databases across projects, so from one project to another. You can do it across regions, so from one region to another, as well as cross-platform restores. So this is being able to take a VM that is running in Google Cloud and choose to restore it on premises, or maybe you want to restore it in AWS or in Azure. Veeam is there is zero prescriptive approaches when it comes to where you can recover your data. So that empowers you to make the right decisions for your business. Spoke a little bit earlier on about file level recovery. We absolutely can do full and file level recovery of the entire instance or database, as well as granular recovery. And that includes in place of the original instance, or maybe as a new instance. Maybe that's in the same project, maybe it's in a different one or a different region. And then we make the entire process as automated as possible to make recovery simple, right? Typically, you're in panic mode. You don't want to have to be doing a bunch of complicated manual tasks to get data back up and online. So we do it, again, automated, but wizard-driven and self-service workflows. So you can empower folks like application owners with recovery permissions only to go out and restore their own data as and when they need to. And then finally, around this zero compromise piece. So again, I spoke a little bit about the policies, right? It's the ability to automatically detect and then protect instances as they come up online based on policies that you define with that native backup and recovery. So again, you're not babysitting backup from 9 to 5. You can focus on more strategic priorities that you're being tasked with, and having the peace of mind that everything is being protected appropriately. But that also extends to other compromises that some organizations make. Cost optimization, right? Everything that we do in the cloud costs money. It is not a charity. So every ounce of compute, storage, networking, every API call, every transaction that we make we are going to be charged for. So we need to optimize that, because with backup, we're duplicating data sets, and that's going to consume storage, especially if we have to retain it for lengthy periods of time. So again, we can utilize that native snapshot that has the benefits, but it has the drawback of living on expensive storage. And then as it ages, automatically tier it off to varying tiers of object storage within Google Cloud. So standard, nearline, and archive. So we can retain that data, but do it at a fraction of the cost. And then the final piece is around hybridity, right? Being able to understand that very, very few companies out there are 100% sole sourced on a single cloud and a single cloud only. The vast, vast majority live in a hybrid or multi-cloud environment, and having that operationally consistent management across the hybrid and multi-cloud from a centralized management plane. So that kind of brings me into our latest release. What did we deliver in version 4? And kind of highlighted some of the big ones here. So the first one is extending native backup and recovery to Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL databases. So in version 1, we delivered the ability to protect compute engine VMs. Version 3 was Cloud SQL for MySQL. Version 4 is PostgreSQL databases. Not going to dive too much into that, because I know AZ's got a demo lined up for you, and it's always better to see it working and in the flesh. So that's the best to do there. Next up is, we're calling it enterprise friendliness. So we know that a lot of organizations have often multiple projects, sometimes multiple organizations, sometimes multiple folders. And that has historically required multiple different appliances to be deployed in order to protect everything across all of these different organizational folder project boundaries. Now we can protect all of those from a single Veeam Backup appliance. So that makes it much, much more efficient for you guys in those larger environments or more complex environments. Kind of drew up a rough little diagram of what that might look like. So you might have a single organization within Google Cloud, or multiple. In this case, we have one organization with one folder and one project dedicated to just Veeam Backup for Google Cloud, as we spoke about earlier. But in the other organization, multiple departments have their own folders with multiple different projects within each, and all these different resources, VMs, databases, storage, whatever it might be associated with each one. Again, instead of having a single or multiple Veeam Backup for Google Cloud appliances deployed in these folders or within the organization, one single one can see it all. Next up is around Community Edition. So anyone that's familiar with Veeam knows that we've always delivered free product to everyone. The same goes for Veeam Backup for Google Cloud. We, ever since version 1, have allowed you to protect 10 Google Cloud instances at no cost with the Veeam Backup for Google Cloud appliance. But in the paid versions, that can also integrate with our flagship product, Veeam Backup and Replication. So you would have the centralized, operationally consistent backup and recovery of hybrid multi-cloud. We're now bringing that to Veeam Backup and Replication Community Edition as well. So anyone that wants to protect 10 instances, irrespective of where they reside, on-prem, virtual physical, in Google Cloud, in AWS, and Azure, you can protect all of that with Community Edition as well. So without further ado, I am going to pass you off to AZ, because he's got a great demo lined up. While we're transitioning over, let's see if we've had any questions come through. None just yet, but we do like to keep it interactive. So anything that you guys have, please let us know, and we'll make sure that we address this live on the call now. But over to you, AZ.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm can just confirm that you're seeing my Google Cloud Console that I'm sharing. Just trying to make sure that everyone can see it. All right. So, well, welcome from my side, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the session. And as I mentioned a couple of times, obviously we're going to do the demo right now, and I'm going to show you how to basically to get Veeam in place over there. But then it's really easy, because you go to the marketplace from Google Cloud, and then you select you just search for Veeam, and then you'll get 2 options. And the second one is basically it's yours, Veeam Backup for Google Cloud. I'm going to quickly show you that it's really easy to basically to deploy it. Right, you can read the information about this product, but essentially what you'll need to do is you'll go ahead and you click launch, and there is that. Okay, so yeah, so whenever you're happy with the settings that you were providing, because you might need to I don't know, to let's say to change the deployment name of the VM instance you're going to deploy, and then you have to select the availability zone and the region where you'd deploy it, and then it will be machine type, things like that. But then essentially, if you are not new to the cloud, which I hope you are not, it wouldn't take more than like 1 or 2 minutes of your time, and then after that you'll be up and running whenever you go through all of those and click deploy. And then you'll wait for like 3 up to 5 minutes, and then you'll have your own appliance over there. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's check the list of my appliances. The VM instances that I've got over there, you can see that I've got one of them, which is Veeam Backup for Google Cloud version 4. And I'm going to copy IP address and then guide you over there. Okay, so this is where we are right now. So let's go ahead, let's log in, let's see how the application is initialized. This is the page that you are going to see first, because this is the configuration page. And as you can see, I've got a couple of steps to go through. I've got 4 checks already because I have added the service accounts, and then I configured the projects and repositories and workers and everything. So I have done something already. Now for you, whenever you access it the first time, you'll have to basically do it yourself. But then trust me, it wouldn't take more than like 5 minutes. And then probably if you're learning, you're going to go through user guide and kind of read and make sure that you're doing great. But then essentially, if you know your way around, 3 minutes tops. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about the initial configuration. Let's see how easy it is to configure anything. So I'll start from the service accounts. Obviously, you'll have to configure the service account, or you can point the solution to an existing service account, which would be, I don't know, preferable choice for some of you. And then you can see that whenever I have added the service account, I can go ahead and check for what projects or folders I'm going to use it. So for my project that I'm having over there, where my VM instances are deployed, and I'm using the service account, you can see that I've got all the required permissions. If I did not have those required permissions, and let me show you quickly those. Now, it would have been really easy for me to just go ahead to edit it and to define the scope of permissions. And then if anything would fail, I could really easily download the script right from here, or I can even grant permissions from here, but depending on the way that you want to perform it. So anyways, once my service account has all the required permissions, which means that it can see into my the list of my resources or workloads that I'm trying to protect. So I know I'm good. Okay, then let's go ahead and let's click on workers, because the worker would be something that this solution temporarily uses whenever we need to perform any backup or recovery operation. And then as you can see that I've got already for this project, the worker is configured in one region. So depending on the way how you operate yourself and whether you're using multiple regions, that's fine. So it would be really easy for you to just go ahead and click somewhere and select the appropriate region over there. I'm pretty sure I don't have any resources, so I'm not going to click. But then let's come to the region where I have something. Okay, so it's North Virginia, and then you have to select the virtual private cloud, the subnet, and firewall rule. Just making sure that whenever the worker, which is the simple VM instance that helps us to process the traffic coming from the source to the target. It actually has the the network connectivity and appropriate HTTPS connection into it. So it's really easy as that. So whenever the worker is added for this particular region, which means that you can finally create a backup policy and you can protect anything over there in that region. But then one more thing I would like to add here. Let's go to repositories. Okay, so if you didn't have any repository, it would be, like Sam mentioned, it would be the snapshot only protection. But since I'm here and you can see the list of my repositories, and let's go ahead and let's add a new one just to show how really easy it is. Okay, for the project service account, I can generate my credentials or I can leave it like that. The bucket, and then the folder, I can use the existing folder if I have the folder in my bucket inside of Google, or if not, I can create a new one. I can select different storage classes depending on the on desire that I want for this repository. But essentially, whenever the storage class is selected, and it would be the demo folder. Let's go ahead and let's create it actually. I'm going to skip encryption option just for visibility, just to show you how easy it is to create anything. Okay, so now it would take a couple of seconds, but then the repository would be created, and then I would be able to go to the the backup policy settings, and I would be able to point my backup policy into this particular repository, which is really nice. So let's come back over here to getting started page. And you can see that I have added the service account, or I showed you that I've got service account. We made sure that I've got the service account enabled for the project where I'm going to operate. I have added backup repository. I have configured the workers. And yeah, all done, all good. Now you can see that I can go ahead and create my first backup policy, which is over here. So for that, I'm going to exit my configuration and not going right into the backup policies, but I'm going to show you the dashboard that we've got. So whenever you've got anything configured over there, the policies, there are some of the protected data, and you have used the storage already, you'll be able to see some information over here. And we we didn't have it in previous versions, but we tried to improve this particular dashboard since we realized that for those of us who use this product intensively, and we've got a lot of policies configured, it would be really nice to have a kind of a one look at everything that is underneath inside of the engine of this product. All right, so for now, let's go ahead and let's go to policies under the management. I'm going to show you that we're under policies right now, and we've got two different tabs. Starting from Veeam and going to Cloud SQL. And for each of those tabs, you can navigate yourself between those, but it's really easy to, to click on the backup policy that I've got, for example, appears, and you can see that I've got some instances already protected. I've got the backups and snapshots, and it's been running for some time already, and the next run is scheduled for tonight. All right, doesn't really matter. We're going to go and to quickly see what's inside of the backup policy configuration, how you can configure it. So obviously, we have to again specify the project or the folder where we're going to operate and service account. Okay. As for resources, again, you have to specify the region, and then you'll be able to protect everything or the specific resources. So now you can see that I can select them by by its name, the VM instance, or I can use the label if I've got the labeling system, which would be really handy for if I had more instances. It would be nice to have the labeling system. But anyways, now I can click on browse, and I can quickly see what else I've got over there. So if I want to add this particular VM instance into the list of the instances that I'm going to protect, that's really easy. I have just added it. Okay, so I'm going to click on apply, and you can see now that I'm protecting 2 specific resources. All right, as for the targets on the next step, I have to specify what about my snapshots, whether I'm going to use the multi-region snapshots and kind of ensure for a little bit of additional redundancy over here, or I'm just going to use the regional snapshot and they would be saved in the same region. So this is fine, and this is where I have to decide on the backups whether I'm enabling them or not. And then whenever I enable them, the appliance, the program would ask me about my repository and backup archive repository, whether I got that as well. And as you can see, the backups are enabled, the regular repository is scheduled, the archival repository is scheduled, so all good. Now, whenever I click on the next step, you can see that I've got a couple of options for a schedule, the way how I want to enable that. Okay, and then if I want to, edit any daily, weekly, monthly, yearly schedule, I go to additional settings and I can specify, how often my snapshots would be taken from those resources and how often the backups would be taken, and what my retention policy is, and how many snapshots I'm going to retain to keep, and as for the backups, for how many days or even month I'm going to retain those backups. So it's really easy to adjust those settings. Let's go for 14 days, for example, and 3 snapshots, and I'm going to click on apply. But before that, I would like you to notice this particular cost, because this is the approximate cost that my policy thinks of me protecting those workloads that I have selected. But whenever I click on apply, you see the cost is different now because the settings are in motion, and then depending on those settings, we can go ahead and click on cost estimation right here. Yeah, the estimated monthly cost would be automatically calculated for me, so you can see how much I'm going to pay for protection of this particular VM instance and another one. And so it's really easy to probably identify the area where you pay too much and you don't want those settings, so you might need to consider adjusting them. Okay, last thing here, yet another time to check permissions, whether I've got them right, and I've got them right, all required permissions are assigned, so all good. Now I can go ahead and click on finish, and the new changes would be automatically already there. Okay, now let's go quickly check Cloud SQL options that I've got over here. I've got 2 policies, and let me just click on one of those. So I believe I should present you the Postgres option, because this is something that we have added into the new version of this product, the protection for Postgres instances and databases. Okay. So you can see I've got policy already. Let's click on edit and let's see what I've got over there. Again, the project where I operate, the service account I'm going to use. And then as for resources, I can go ahead and again, select in the list of my instances. Okay, the Postgres, I've got just 1 instance, so it's all good. It's been added to my policy. Okay, so whenever I click next, you see it's the same. Similarities are between the backup policies. Again, I have to enable the backups, or I don't have to, but then if I prefer, I can do that easily. And then the backups would be stored in this particular repository. The archives will be over there, all the same. As for the scheduling, I've got daily schedule and the weekly schedule preferred with 4 snapshots per day and 1 backup per day, which keeps me pretty satisfied with the options over there. As for processing options, this would be probably the the different step comparing to the typical VM wizard that I have previously showed you. We've got two options for processing, using staging server or using production instance. And depending on how you want it, you can take that. And obviously, you'll have to provide the authentication so we could make sure that that we have access to the databases and we can protect them safely. All right, additional settings, again, cost estimation. You can see it's pretty much the same, right? Depending on my settings, and the settings are obviously different now because I'm using more frequent schedule, and the price at the end of the month would be a little bit higher. So I might need to consider changing the settings. Okay, let's click next, and you can see that I've got all the permissions again. So all good, and this policy should be running fine. Okay, let me go ahead and cancel that. So now you can see that two policies, they've been running. I've got the snapshots, I've got the backups. I haven't got any archives because, for one of those wasn't even configured. And for another one, we have never ran it previously. But then the question would be, what are you going to do with it? Well, obviously, you have configured the policy and the workloads are protected. What are you going to do? You're going to probably check the protected data tab, which is over here. And now again, two different tabs, VMs and Cloud SQL. And as for all of them, you can see that the resource that I was trying to protect, and that, for example, for this particular VM, I've got 8 different restore points. I can click in here and you'll be able to see the list of my snapshots and backups taken from that particular VM instance. Okay, if I need to recover any data, there are 3 recovery options available for me, starting from the whole instance recovery, going to the disk recovery, and file level recovery. Trust me, depending on, well, regardless of what option you're going to use, it's really easy because it would be a kind of a wizard-driven approach, showing you what exactly you want to recover, and then showing you the interface where you can select multiple things specific to recovery. Okay, I'm not going to go through those, but I was thinking to go ahead and check my MySQL and Postgres instances. And for example, for Postgres, I've got 13 different restore points. You can see 4 snapshots and a bunch of backups, 9 backups. So now I'm going to click somewhere, for example, this backup. And then you can see I can view the databases, just make sure that I've got those that I wanted to protect that are they're here, they're available for me. And I've got the instance restore. So let's quickly click on view databases. I've got just one over there inside of my instance, the standard database, and then I'm going to click on instance restore so you can see the wizard as well. But yeah, like I said before, it's really easy. So you have to select the instance. You've got another ability to specify the restore point. And then as for restore mode, you can recover back to original location, or you can recover a new location with different settings. So whenever you click that, you can see that you've got to go through multiple more steps, and where you would select the same or even different project, efficiently performing cross-project recovery. Or you can specify different region, example Iowa, and then it would be like cross-region recovery if I go through that wizard as well. So pretty flexible in terms of what you can do with it. And then now you obviously have to specify the instance settings and to provide the network connectivity and everything, going through the restore nuances specifics to this particular instance. But yeah, really easy to do. I'm going to quickly just click through the wizard itself. And then you can see I've got, again, all the permissions to recover this instance, and I can go ahead and do it. So really easy. Let me cancel that and close this one. Okay, So essentially, what we've been doing is we have configured that from the initial configuration, we have found this solution in the marketplace. Then we went ahead and we deployed it, and we went through initial configuration, made sure that we've got the all of the required components, repositories, workers, service accounts, everything in place. And then we were able to go ahead and to click on resources and to basically to see what kind of resources we've got over there, and we could protect. And we have created a few backup policies that take care of our resources, VM instances, cloud, SQL instances, and databases as well. And then whenever we need to, we can go to protect the data and we can recover it the way we want, performing cross-region recovery, cross-project recovery, and everything like that. So whenever something happens to you and you want to to roll back the data to the previous state, so the solution is right for you right here, and should be available in the regular marketplace. And as Sam mentioned there, we've got community edition, we've got the regular edition, so it's like multiple choices depending on how you want to run it. I wanted to show you the the integration with on-premises solution that we've got, but then I thought, might be offended for someone who's like born in cloud and do not want even to talk about on-premises. So anyways, if you want to recover this data, probably not databases, but VM instances, for example. If you want to migrate it between different clouds, you can do it with Veeam. If you want to recover it to another cloud or to on-premises virtual machine, that's really possible. And what you'll need to do is to make sure that you've got on-premises part, Veeam Backup and Replication, and then you connect those two together. Veeam Backup for Google Cloud and Veeam Backup and Replication. Okay, so with that, I kind of think that that was a nice and short demo that should kind of give you a good feeling about what this product is and how you can use it, how you can get started with it. So with that, I'm coming back to Sam, and we'll see if we've got any questions that we need to address right now.
Yeah, thanks so much, AZ. I can actually see a few questions that have come in right now that let's go through it. Let's go ahead and just answer them. So the first one is from Rob. Can Veeam back up to least cost storage based on the retrieval frequency? So I think I understand what you're asking there, Rob, but as we had kind of showed in the demo, you can utilize both standard, nearline, and archive object storage, and you can define, how as a backup ages where it gets stored. The standard storage is the most expensive object storage. It certainly is the most robust and it's the most performant. But as, again, those backups age, things like nearline and archive storage are better choices than standard storage in those scenarios where you're okay with slightly lower availability. You're okay with the minimum storage duration because some of these tiers require you to, the data has to be on there for a specific amount of time. For nearline, I believe it's 30 days. And then the costs for data access are an acceptable trade-offs for the lower at-rest storage costs. So, again, as the likelihood of needing to recover from a backup that's, say, 6 months old on archive storage is low. It's not zero, but it's certainly low. There will be data retrieval costs from that. It will take longer, but certainly, again, it's just kind of a balancing act based on what's needed by your organization. So another one from Rob, and this is likely for you, AZ. Can Veeam administrative access through Google Cloud Platform be limited to only specified IP addresses?
Yeah, that's a good one. So we've got 2 points to talk about over here. If we're talking about the VM instance itself or the appliance itself that you have deployed into the Google Cloud, then you can go ahead and you can go to the security settings of your Google console, and then you can limit it and kind of whitelist the IP address that you're using in order to access this appliance. yet another one point here related to the portal users, which I did not show, and well, I think I can, right? So just quickly coming back to the screen share. So yeah, I'm inside of the configuration for Veeam Backup for Google Cloud, and this is the user that I'm using. This is the account, and it is a local account. It is a local to this appliance, to this particular server. So we've got an option to, well, actually to add multiple accounts and to even differentiate between the user roles that those accounts would perform. So it doesn't have to be portal administrator all the time. It could be portal operator, restore operator. So they would be seeing things, but well, portal operator, they would be seeing things, but be not able to perform anything. And then you can have multiple accounts with those. And then if you're worried about security, this is what I can do as well. I can enable multi-factor authentication for my portal user, which would be really easy. You'll have it. You can scan the QR code over there, and then I'll have to enter the one-time password. So what I'm trying to say, that probably this question was related to security and how you can limit access to Veeam Backup for Google Cloud. So multiple choices going through Google Cloud Console itself, working with the portal users, enabling multi-factor authentication, and I'm pretty sure that combination of those factors could be something that you're looking for. So yeah, thank you. Good question. Okay, any more questions, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. Rob's got all the good questions coming in. So the next question from Rob is, how do you know how much each backup restore is costing the organization? So we do utilize the list prices that are presented by Google Cloud, and then we make some assumptions. I think it is based on 70% disk utilization, and I think a daily change rate of 3%, although AZ, you might have to keep me honest there. I'm struggling to recall that one exactly.
Yeah, I don't really remember by heart, but I'm sure your values are pretty accurate. So yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I believe it's 70%. And then Rob has another question. Do I need any third-party certificates installed in order to secure the Veeam instance connection between our on-prem servers?
No, you don't. Well, you don't need any third-party certificates installed. Although you can, but then you don't need to. So the way how that connection is done is via Veeam Backup and application, yet another product, and then you would be adding you would be authenticating within the wizard. I'm not sure. Can I show it to you? Okay, probably would be much easier. So I hope you can see it. This is the screen I'm using. Veeam Backup and application. Okay. So just quickly, I know I did not talk about that, but then you can see that I can, right now, I can connect to an existing appliance, whether I've got my Veeam Backup for Google Cloud already deployed, or I can deploy a new appliance. Okay, let's connect to existing one. And then this is where you have to provide the Google Cloud service account. I can add it right here. And then let's create a new service account. Okay, now you should be able to see that I have to sign in with Google, and then it would redirect me to the browser, and depending on the the authentication I'm using over there, I might be asked to perform all of that. So that's like one thing to make sure that Veeam Backup and application, which is on premises, it has got the secure connection into the Google, and it would be able to talk to Veeam Backup for Google Cloud over there securely. Well, the traffic is encrypted, so all good. But yeah, no need for any third-party certificates. That's what I was getting. So yeah, thank you. Good question.
Cool. And then another question from, it's either Jamie or Jaime, one of the two. How is the backup performed in Google Cloud for Kubernetes clusters as well as application state? So another good question. So the product that we're demoing today doesn't protect any kind of containerized or Kubernetes managed applications. That's actually done by our Casting K10 product. AZ, not sure if you would like to give a quick briefing on that, or?
Well, just, do we have another hour?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah,
coming up
but yeah, I think it would be safe to say that, we've got a bunch of products in our portfolio, and one of those is the Custom K10. Custom is the company that we acquired a couple of years ago, and their specialization is like particularly on the Kubernetes and their environments, including GKE. So yeah, well, different product, and it would be, somehow integrated into our main Veeam Backup application, but yet providing you with a different console that you would be able to configure policies, and you would be able to protect your Kubernetes environment. So yeah, it wasn't the purpose of this session, but I would actually suggest you to go to veeam.com and go deep into our resource library, where we've got multiple webinars about that. So it might be, something that you would be interested in.
Awesome. Thanks much there. All right, so skipping ahead, we've only got about 10 minutes left. Keep the questions coming in, because we do want to make sure that we answer those for you. Just got a couple of high-level architectures just to kind of show you what AZ was working through and how it all works with the snapshots, the stage copy, the workers that perform the backup and recovery tasks, and the tiering off onto different classes of object storage, different recovery scenarios as well, either from those backups in object storage, from the disk snapshots, as well as the file-level recovery saved locally to the machine. And then AZ also touched on, those that live in a hybrid cloud infrastructure, which is the vast majority of organizations. We can integrate with our Veeam Backup and Replication product that can live in an on-premises data center. It can live in Google Cloud. It could live in AWS. It could live in Azure. But once that connection has been brokered between Veeam Backup and Replication and Veeam Backup for Google Cloud, you are then able to perform things like backup copy jobs on premises, or to another cloud's object storage. You can do instant VM recovery, whereby we create a virtual instance on premises and stream the data out of the cloud storage bucket. And you can do a permanent recovery as a VM on premises, or to a VM on the other cloud, so an Amazon EC2 instance or an Azure VM. And that, of course, all works in the other direction as well. So not only can all of this be centrally managed through that Veeam Backup and Replication interface that AZ just had in that second part of the demo, I guess, but it can also allow that portability of data. So we have a number of organizations that are deprecating data centers in some of their like edge or branch locations and moving those workloads into the cloud. They're using Veeam to do that. And then the same Veeam license, the same Veeam product that they were using to protect those workloads that were in that on-premises footprint, it just continues to protect those workloads in the cloud without any additional procurement or anything like that. From a packaging perspective, we've got 3 different options. So we already covered the free edition, which allows you to back up to 10 instances with best effort support. You can deploy that directly through the marketplace. No limitations in terms of feature sets, timeframes, how many restores that you can do. No limitations in the sizes of the databases. You just can protect 10 instances there. We then also have a BYOL edition for those that are 100% sole sourced in Google Cloud or have no interest in centralizing management or data portability. We've got a BYOL specific license, and then the VOL license for those that do live in that hybrid multi-cloud piece. So let's see if we have any more Q&As. Well, we'll do that. Shameless plug. Modern Data Protection Conference of the Year, VeeamON 2023, is going to be in Miami this year, May 22nd to the 24th. Myself and AZ will be there, maybe a few days early to catch some rest before the craziness ensues, but tons of different learning opportunities, opportunities to engage with the backup community, security communities, cloud communities, get yourself in some hands-on labs, lots and lots of things going on there. See if we got any more questions. Elizabeth,
actually, I think we're good.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, then I will turn it back to you, my friend. We will keep our eyes on the chat just in case, but back to you, Scott. And thanks, everyone.
All right. Yeah, it sounds good. Lots of great improvements in that new version. Thanks for the tour and the demo, and for addressing the questions that came in there. It does look like we're at time here. Sam, we saw the invite to the event. Any other tips for if somebody wants to get started, places to go or places to look?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as AZ says, a great place to go is always Veeam.com. Of course, we have the product pages, which give you a high-level overview. We've got the resource library, so demos like we've just kind of shown you today. Lots of other different documentation around best practices. And speaking of best practices, there is a website, it's bp.veeam.com, and that really kind of goes into best practices when it comes to configuring the appliance, the size of machine you want to deploy it on, based on the size of your environment, policies, workloads you're looking to protect. So Veeam.com, bp.veeam.com, always great places to go.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks very much. Really appreciate the presentation and the demos. It's been fantastic.
Most welcome, and thanks everyone for joining and for you guys for hosting us.
All right. And before we wrap up, we have one more piece of business. It's the Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner today of that $300 Amazon gift card is Christos Kolias from California. So congratulations to Christos. We'll be in touch about getting you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Veeam for making this event possible. And thanks as always for attending and for all of your great questions. That concludes today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.